Oh, welcome, everybody. My name is Chris Holloman, and welcome to Babylon Microfarms. This is Alex Pataf. I'll be your host and tour guide today. And Alex, tell us a bit about yourself.
Yeah, so like Chris said, my name is Alex Pataf. I'm in the sales department here at Babylon Microfarms, but my background is actually in agricultural economics and horticulture from Virginia Tech. So go Hokies. And I'm currently getting my master's in sustainability. So when we reach that conversation later on in the webinar, feel free to ask questions. I'm excited to chat with you guys.
And that's a great segue. So today, during the webinar, the way it's going to be laid out is for a few minutes, we're going to give you a tour of our headquarters here that we pre-recorded with Sharon. She's going to show you around, give you a little bit of the layout of what it looks like to make a microfarm here as we celebrate Earth Day. The next thing we'll do is when that's over, take about 5 minutes, the short tour. We'll actually get into the farms and explain how these work, what they do, our different products that we have here. We have 2 different farms that we offer, and a little bit how the systems here at Babylon's work. We'll open that up for Q&A if you have questions about sort of the technical things of how that works. Then we'll get into sustainability. Alex will give us a presentation about sustainability, about how hydroponics sort of fits into that, about sort of the sustainability certificates you can use with our farms, et cetera. And then we'll have a Q&A about sustainability if you have any questions. We'll kind of split this up so your question, you won't have to wait till the very, very end to ask your questions. And then third, we're going to introduce Kenny later on. She's our horticultural and head grower here. She has an amazing background in that and does speeches all across the world. And she'll come in to answer all of your plant questions about what we're doing, nutrients, I don't even know what, and how sort of the health and nutrition fits into Earth Day as well. And we really look forward to hearing from her later. And then we'll wrap things up after a Q&A with her. Yeah. So without further ado, we're going to watch this video real quick. In the meantime, if you have questions, please leave them in the chat until we get to that open Q&A area and get started.
Hi, I'm Sharon Redinger with Babylon Microfarms, and happy Earth Day. Today, I'm going to take you, your team, and guests on a VIP tour of our headquarters here in Richmond, Virginia. So come with me. So we were founded by Graham and Alexander, and it was a project, and we were founded at the University of Virginia. And it was how do we feed a family of 4 the most healthy, fresh, sustainable way possible. And our product, as you can see behind me, has really evolved and had multiple iterations over time, but our mission really has remained the same. And so since coming on board, we've now partnered with organizations like the Mayo Clinic, Neiman Marcus, LinkedIn's corporate office, senior living communities, higher education teams, and although they're quite different segments, food really does bring people together. And each one of these companies, schools have different missions and values of why they decided to partner with Babylon. But the key piece right here is our stunning indoor hydroponic farms, which you can see right here. So we've deployed over 350 units across the world. And our goal is to really kind of take the guesswork out of growing. So with our Babylon IQ software, essentially we control the environment. And then with our guided growing app, that's what takes the guesswork out of growing food for our teams. As you can see, we have some stunning different produce offerings from basil. We're actually testing some peppers right here, some Cosmo peppers. But the beauty of these farms is there's literally no seasonality whatsoever within your micro farms. And these are gorgeous focal points that really allow you, your teams, and your guests to enjoy the most delicious, fresh, sustainable produce possible that's grown on site essentially at the push of a button. Now come on back and I'll show you kind of the magic behind the curtain with Babylon. All right. So as you can see, we're headquartered here in Richmond, Virginia. And I'm going to take you so you can see kind of our secret garden or magic behind the scenes in here. So this is where our horticulture team is testing tons of different varieties of produce. We're also testing different types of grow media. Our goal is to make sure our clients have the most pampered, fresh, sustainable produce grown on site. So that's where we kind of take the testing out of it, but make sure you have lots of different options for you and your team to select from. All right, now we're going to keep moving this way. So one of the beauties of Babylon is we really kind of take the guesswork out of everything. So from the horticulture side to literally everything you need to successfully operate the farm. I'm going to take you to our consumable section so you can see where all of the things that are needed to grow in your farm are provided. So here we are in the consumables section. So as you can see, we have a very diverse product offering that our clients get to select from. And over here, River is managing the consumables. And so River provides all of the seeds and grow media, everything needed to successfully operate the farms, whether it's the STEM garden or our gallery microfarms. Now, we're going to continue the tour so you can actually see we literally manufacture everything in-house. So our production center is out here. So this is where we manufacture, test to ensure that you are going to have a perfect farm in pristine condition. Now, I'm going to take you back to our corporate office so you can kind of wrap up the tour. So thank you again for taking the time to learn about Babylon Microfarms today. I hope you really enjoyed it. If you're considering, unique avenues for on-site growing, Babylon could be the great solution for you and your team. A lot of our clients are looking for opportunities for team building, engagement, ways to provide an amazing farm-to-table experience, and we really do check all of those boxes. Even for some of our higher education accounts, the students love to get their hands into the farm. So with our student internship programs, those have been really well received, but keep in mind, gorgeous vehicles for engagement, and we'd love to share more about Babylon with you and your team. Thank you.
Well, we appreciate Sharon for taking the time to do that for us, and welcome back. So right now we're going to get into the farm a little bit, and I see we've already got some questions coming in, and we're going to get to those in just a minute. Yeah. So we're going to stand up here real quick and open up the farm. So these gorgeous glass doors. So what is a microfarm? So we are an indoor hydroponic farm. That means we're not using any soil. So let's show you what that looks like. Pull this. Oh, these are soaking wet. We have this interesting triple tray system where as you pull this out, you'll notice there's no dripping here, even though there's water in the farm. As I pull it out here, would you lift this up for me?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you can see all of the different roots here, root systems. So there's no soil. We use a different type of grow medium, which we'll show here in just a minute. This triple tray system ensures that we have a nice food safe product here where nutrients aren't dripping down onto the plants below. Also helps keep drier. It means you can also harvest at whatever height you are, or if you have kids working on this thing, or senior citizens or whatever, you don't have to get on a ladder to get it.
Yeah, and they're pretty lightweight too, even with there being crops fully grown inside the farm as well. And those trays are commercially dishwasher safe. So I know with a lot of our chef partnerships, they don't have a lot of time. So being able to just pop those in the dishwasher instead to cut down on that cleaning time for you is, something a lot of our partners care about.
Absolutely. And speaking of maintenance really quickly, so what we like to do is we get people on a different schedule. Now you can have a lot of different schedules depending on how you're working with your customer support team. But we like to get people on a 4-week rotation, 1, 2, 3, 4, one time a week. You're pulling out something. That way you're cleaning just one tray at a time. You're pulling things out. Things like basil are going to be cut and come again. So you're only going to cut them down a little bit. They'll keep growing. They'll do that 2 or 3 times until basically they're hitting the top and you can't grow them anymore. And because you can't cut them all the way down to the base. And then to reduce food waste, because it is Earth Day.
It is Earth Day.
After all, we always suggest either giving them away afterwards, so you can replant. We have a pretty good replantability with our other things, and the grow medium will break down in soil, and so it's biodegradable. It's one of the reasons why we use it. And then so not only can you give it away afterwards and try to replant it, if you have an outdoor garden, you can use it there, so you can use a seedling, or you can give them away. You can give them on pots and plants. Mother's Day, when we're growing flowers here, you can prepare ahead of time for that and give away plants or do different activities with the farm, which is really fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So like Chris said, all of our herbs and the edible flowers as well are those cut and come again. So kind of harvest those up to 3 different times before you need an entirely new seed. I will say this bottom row here is the germination level. It's a little bit different. Basically, the height is a little bit shorter from the bottom to the lights at the top. And then these top 4 rows or zones that we call them are where you can grow things that have now been transplanted from the bottom trays into our larger trays and kind of set up that cadence for whatever output that you're looking for.
Speaking of output, We have over 45 different types of lettuces, herbs, flowers, leafy greens, and microgreens. Microgreens grow a little different. They grow super fast. The stuff you get like a 5-star restaurant. So this is a quick overview of our menu. You can find a copy of this on our website. We can send one to you as well, just to give you a quick idea. What you're going to see in our farm behind us is actually a little different because we're growing a few things. We're always testing things here at our office. One of the things we're doing is we're testing peppers here. So we may roll it out, we may not. We're just seeing how they grow in our farm. It's a special variety that we're using here for hydroponics. They don't grow as tall, so they don't bump into it. And then, it's with our app as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of speaking to that, I'm sure Akene, our lead horticulturalist, will speak to this later on as well. But like Chris said, we do test different varieties on site before adding new things to the menu. And the cool thing with the fruiting plants that we're testing, so these Cosmo peppers, like Chris said, that are really spicy and delicious, and then also some micro tomatoes that we've been trialing as well. They're actually asexual varieties. So instead of needing pollinators to cross-pollinate and give you that fruit, ours are really cool varieties where you can just tap on the flowers, or what we actually do is we have like a mini leaf blower. We just come by and blow the plants to activate that.
So we're always testing new things out. Trying new ways of making it easier for everybody. Speaking of easy, we have our guided growing app, which I think Alex will bring that up there in a second. We'll show that to you on the camera. We can get into that a little bit more. But essentially, as all of our farms are on a subscription model, except for our stem garden. And so every month you're going to get the seeds that you've picked and chosen to grow in your farm, whether they be microgreens in a mat or pre-seeded, ready to go seeds like basil and everything here. And you'll get your app open. The app there's a little QR code. This is an example of the QR code on here. You're going to use your app to start that. And then our farms have a built-in recipe. That's one of the magic behind this is that we're taking all the guesswork out of it, right? You don't have to have a green thumb to make these work. Anybody on your staff can do this. They don't have to be your head gardener or something like that. Anybody on staff can do this. You'll have great customer support, real human beings to help you walk through it and teach them how to do it. But then the app's going to walk you through it as well. So
yeah, absolutely. So like Chris said, when you order seeds from our menu, they come pre-seeded in these biodegradable compostable pods, vacuum sealed with a QR code. All of the varieties minus microgreens, those come in a little packet like you see here, again with a QR code. We'll sprinkle those on a little rock wool tray and then pop those in the farm. But basically, when you scan that QR code in the app, it's actually going to upload all the different varieties that you're growing in your farm. And that's how we're able to track and tell you when it's time to transplant or harvest those varieties. So my app right now is reflecting the plants growing in this farm here. And it's telling me that one level of basil at the bottom is ready for the humidity dome to be removed. That's this little, actually, we don't have any humidity.
They did this morning, that's why. So you're all good.
But you pop it off at a certain stage of germination when they're ready to mature a little bit more outside of that humidity. And then some of the other basil, it's saying harvest ends in 31 days. So I'll give you a little bit closer, sorry. But like Chris was saying, that's one of our cut and come again varieties. So we also communicate the window in which you can harvest certain varieties as well. So yeah, everything is tracked and traced within the app. And that's how we're communicating with you. And again, like Chris said, taking that guesswork out of it. So we do as much as we can remotely to guide you through the process. And then anything that has to be done physically, we're giving you those reminders as well. So you should have consistent, beautiful produce as long as you have the farm.
All right. And I'm going to zoom in on something here. Let's try. Let's see if this works. Hopefully, yeah. All right. So we're going to use our little gimbal app here on this piece here and to give you an idea of what's going on. So down in here is a pull-out drawer. And here you have your reservoir with water. So you can see it dripping out right here. The idea is that the water is going to come from the top. The nutrients get pumped in, and then they begin to go down to each row. The nutrients go into are placed inside of here. Some people use liquid. Sometimes we use powder. Depends on the farm. We have a couple of different variations. There's a connection hose here. So you don't require a drain to use our farm. You just have to have a water line coming into this farm. Want to explain a little bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the requirements for our gallery micro farm specifically that you see here is it does require 1/4-inch cooled flexible water line. So the same that goes to a refrigerator, very standard. And then it also requires a standard 120 volt wall outlet dedicated to the unit as well. So in terms of setup, those are like the two main requirements that you need. And then we do suggest a sink or a drain within 50 feet of the unit. That's because every 3 months we'll tell you, hey, it's time to do a deep clean of the farm. What that entails is using the app. So you're going to press a button in the app to flush the farm top to bottom. and it'll go through a hose that actually connects to you. So it's clearly labeled Hose Connect. So you're going to screw that hose on, lead it to that sink or drain, and then flush the farm. Once that's done, you're going to use the food grade cleaning supplies that we've already given you in your consumable subscription to kind of wipe things out. And then once you're done, press another button in the app and it's going to refill with water again. So even things that may seem more daunting and time intensive, we've tried to simplify as best as we possibly can.
All right, that's awesome. Let's go back to the main video here. So that's the gallery. We're going to switch over to our STEM garden here in just a second. I'm going to bring the camera back over, but Alex, how do you explain that while I get this going?
Yeah, so our STEM garden is, as you'll see in just a second, a smaller micro farm that we designed with the intent of K-12 education and engagement. So unlike the gallery, our STEM garden is more manual, and it's really meant to be experimented with, engaged with, learned with as well, obviously, for our education partners. And so with that being said, we do have some partners within the culinary world who use these to experiment with their own produce varieties for test kitchens and things like that. But as you can see, it is smaller. There's only 3 zones or 3 shelves, as you can see. Yeah. So like I mentioned a second ago, we're experimenting with micro tomatoes. You can see here they're doing really beautifully. And we've got some of our edible flowers as well, some marigolds and zinnias, and at the bottom, more peppers and tomatoes as well. But the really cool thing with the STEM garden is if you want to grow produce that's off or not on our menu, you can absolutely do that. So let's say you are an educator and your kids in your class are asking to grow some lemongrass and another, mums or something like that. Go to Lowe's, get the seed packs, and then experiment with them inside the farm and see how it does. Create an entire experimental design or curriculum around certain produce varieties for different seasons. Something else I love about the STEM is that this roof can actually be popped off. So we had an amazing intern last summer, his name's Seth, who popped the roof off, 3D printed a trellis, and then experimented with some micro cucumbers. So they're kind of growing out of the top of the farm. And that was really fun for us to be able to see and learn from as well. So
does the app work with the STEM garden?
No. So this one actually does not have an app accompanying it, but we do have a very extensive user manual. And we also have curriculum partners who their whole piece is to be focused on ag tech education in the classroom. So if that's something that you want support with to really hit the ground running with your students, we can connect you with them and make sure that you get as much out of this platform as possible.
You get seeds from Babylon. Obviously.
Yes, so you can get seeds from us still for the STEM garden. We have an amazing web store on our website where you can go on, order different seeds from our menu directly, and have them shipped to you. So the gallery itself has account management and access to the app. This doesn't have those things, but we still are offering you that supplies that you may need to get going with the STEM garden.
All right, sounds great. Well, let's head back to the Q&A section, I think, right now, unless there's anything else you want to add.
I do actually want to touch on one more thing. So with the gallery you saw, there's that automated reservoir at the bottom and that water line. All you need for the STEM is a wall outlet to plug it in. There's no live water line. On the bottom here, there's actually manual fill. Oh, it's locked. Never mind. It's manual fill, and it's a little drawer with a bucket that you fill with water and dose the nutrients, and then it pulls from it in that way as well. You also have this control panel, so it's still a very elevated, semi-autonomous system, but requires more from the user to kind of play with it and maintain it as well, but still gives you great produce and results.
Great. All right. Let's go back to our other screen.
The thing I do love you though about both of our farms is that they have those doors that obviously you just saw with turnkey style locks on them too. So from a food safety perspective, you really have that peace of mind because it is captivating and meant to be engaged with, but maybe you have it in an area where members of your team aren't monitoring it at all times. You don't want somebody to come by, open it, sneeze on everything, or mess up so maybe a project that you're doing. So those locks I know are very helpful, and having the doors too helps protect the plants even further.
Great. All right. Before I open it up to everyone for Q&A, I'm going to take one question that's been asked earlier. They actually have one of our farms. They said that they've only had the farm for a couple of weeks. They want to come on here and say this working. They're only growing microgreens right now and 2 crops. And they were asking Can they do less microgreens and different crops instead? The answer is yes. With your gallery, you can totally do that. You may have started with that just because it's easier. We do usually get people growing with like a standardized kind of get growing, get up to speed type of thing before heading back to check with your customer support and saying, hey, I'd like to do this or this. I'd like to try lettuce now and get into the rigmarole. That way we want to make sure you're really comfortable growing the farm. Microgreens, basil, things like that. Not that there's no seasonality, but they're a little bit more forgiving as far as learning how to use them. Plus it teaches you how to cut and come again. It teaches, it's sort of like you don't even get Mario. You don't have to have an instruction manual. That's kind of what we're hoping to do is get you started with some things that are pretty great that work with a lot of recipes. But absolutely, contact your customer support team. They're always willing to help and just see what you want to grow for your next time, and they'll get you on a new rotation for some things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's open this up and see if anybody has any quick questions while we grab some other ones from the chat that we have. But I'm going to open it up for all of us. That button here.
Also, thanks for the question, Faye. That's a good one. I'm sure other people have that question as well.
All right. Why is my button active? Why isn't it? I'm working on it. All right, we'll just do it the old fashioned way. We'll just push the button. Allowed to talk. Oh. If you'd like to ask a question verbally, you can feel free to unmute yourself and ask, which is a little easier than typing it in, and we'll give you a moment to do that.
I feel like it's like popcorn prayer. Like people get like.
I'll ask a question. It's Faye again. So if I want to grow 3 crops, I have to order another tray, right? Because I have 2 microgreen trays and 2 crop trays.
Possibly, if you weren't sent the other trays, then yes, you would have to. If you were planning on only having microgreen trays and the regular trays, and you didn't get them with the initial order, then yes. Talk to your customer support about that, and they may be able to work out a deal or send you other ones or swap them or something.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you're probably set up on that cadence, Faye, where it's like every 6 weeks you get that consumables package.
Right.
So yeah, you're really able to switch up whatever you're growing each time you have that order come in. So yeah, like Chris said, talk to your customer support account representative and see, kind of figure out what it is you want specifically, and we can absolutely help you get you situated.
Absolutely. We've had lots of people that we have a farm on a cruise ship, right? And the first cruise ship does all microgreens. So that's all the trays they have. They have the special microgreen trays. When they set sail with the second ship, they went with all basil. So they put in an Italian restaurant. They did all basil, and they do no microgreens in that one. To me, so they're testing out some different ideas, but we can always move back and forth between those. Plenty of people have. There have been some groups that have gone all microgreen after using a lot of them. They have a different need than everybody else. But that's the beauty of this system, is that it can really be tailored to you. A lot of hydroponic systems is one plant at a time, right?
Yeah.
Here you can grow at least 4 different types, if not 5, at any given time, and the recipe sort of builds it out.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a great question, Faye. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Another one coming into the chat here. Let me give you a chance to read it. Okay. So this person is asking about the different herb varieties that we have, and can you grow something that is not on the menu? So to answer that question is maybe. For instance, we had IKEA that was trying out one of our systems along here in the United States. We were going to be their partner. They had a European partner as well. I will say the European partner didn't work out as well, and so they kind of canceled the program. That kind of stinks for us. But in the beginning, they said, "Can you grow dill?" And at the time, dill was not on our menu, and so we wanted to make sure that dill grew well in hydroponics, which we weren't sure about. So we had to find a variety that did. Then we had to match flavor profiles because they were very strict on flavor profile and how that was. And then of course the nutritional factor that everybody's really concerned with our farm. So we worked very closely with their team and our head grower. We were able to bring dill to the farm and the market. They were able to grow it very successfully, and now it's never left our menu. It's grown very successfully. It's become one of our more popular herbs, and people love it. I mean, we have We have senior living places making their own pickles,
Yeah.
which I think is really fun. Dill is really big with, Jewish community and the Jewish communities because it's in a lot of the tzatziki type sauces. And so that's really great. And of course, you're making salmon and it doesn't hurt to have
Yeah,
some oil.
amazing.
So that's really great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for your question.
Yeah. And Kenny, just to add on to that, so when she comes out and speaks later too, I know I keep talking about her, but she's incredible. If we get enough requests for a specific produce variety, like from several clients, what we can do is actually test that new variety here. So kind of like Chris was saying, IKEA was asking about dill. So we'll test it here on site with our research farms that you kind of saw Sharon speak to in the video at the very beginning in that tent. That's kind of our little R&D area. So we'll trial it here, see if it meets that flavor requirement, if it grows well, gets all the green lights. And then if it passes that, then we'll add it to our menu. So our menu is definitely not an end all be all. We're always looking to see how we can add new and exciting produce to the menu as well. And then one more thing to add to that, we actually do also have some seed packs where the varieties are mixed. So we've got like an Italian herb seed pack where instead of just one whole thing of basil, there'll be a mix of basil and then maybe some rosemary or sage, things like that. You kind of get that blend so that when you plant it and you cut it, you've already got that mix ready to go.
I'm a big spicy mix fan personally.
Yeah.
So here, one of the perks of working with Babylon is that we get to have all this stuff they're going to harvest here. It gets to go to the employees, which actually some of our clients do too. We have a couple of financial institutions. They have no cafe. They have no farmer. They have no garden. They just have a farm in their lunchroom. And at the end of the week, they just get to take home fresh greens, or they can make a salad with them during the day. It's just a corporate perk, which I think is really neat.
Yeah.
But my personal favorite is the spicy mix.
Yeah, I do love that one too.
We have another question coming in about connectivity. So yes, the gallery requires an internet connection. That we prefer to have a wired connection for uptime. You can run that into a wireless if you want, but we prefer an Ethernet cord to go to it. The other thing you could do if security is needed, or if that's just not going to work for you, we can have a cellular system built into it as well. So that's always an option too, which is really great. Yeah. I know we had somebody from Antarctica looking into one. To figure that out. So actually, now before it was really difficult because they had timed internet going back and forth. But it looks like they might be going to satellite internet. So we may be putting a farm in Antarctica. That could be really fun. I know they just put one in space. That was pretty cool.
I want to be on every continent.
Absolutely. There are a few, when I'm speaking of connectivity, there are things like cameras inside. You can bring up your app real quick. Let's just show that real fast, just while we're into it, so we can go over the app too much. One of the cool things you can do is you can actually check on the growth of your farm. So there's a camera on every single level of the farm looking down. It's really tight for security reasons, but also just to be able to dial in. So our backend is monitoring all kinds of crazy stuff, pH levels and water levels and temperature levels and things like that. And one of the things we can do is we can dial in and look at the farm to check to say, hey, I don't think this is growing very large or something's happening. What's going on? So just going to show this video.
Yeah. So in the app, like Chris said, we have these cameras. So these are photos taken in real time.
Stop here and make that a little larger.
Sure. Yeah, good idea.
There you go. Can you show it again?
Yeah. So these are the plants, again, pictures in real time of the crops we have in the farm. So you can see that Thai basil, and then the Cosmo peppers that we talked about earlier. So when you're on the go, maybe you want to take a peek at the health of the plants, or maybe you get a notification that something looks a little wonky. Come in and see what's going on in the farm. We can have that just add a level of transparency and information in terms of how things are doing.
And I'll add to that too. So one of the neat things about the lights in here is that they're very similar to seasonal disorder lights. And so I like to say the farm, it looks good standing next to it. Also smells really amazing, and things like basil are growing. But we use full spectrum lighting. So you may see other hydroponic systems that use this like harsh purple light. One of the reasons why we don't do that, even though purple light's cheaper, is that you can't tell if something is going wrong with your plant until it's too late, because your plants are going to go what color? They're going to go yellows or reds. Well, if you use a purple light, a UV light, it removes that from the visual spectrum. So by the time your plants are in bad shape, if something's gone wrong, it's too late. Right? Yeah. Now we like to think in our plants, nothing's ever going to go wrong, but we had a water crisis here near our headquarters. We had to clean out all of our farms here and take care of everything. That was a good thing. Hurricanes happen, right?
Yeah.
So you never know what's going to happen, or sometimes power gets shut off.
Yeah.
We had one person who installed a hot water line into the farm.
Instead of cold water.
Instead of cold water. So, that was
the plants didn't do well.
They didn't do well. No. Algae grew great. But once we fixed it, cleaned it, it was great. And they're one of our better customers. It was awesome.
Yeah. Just to show you guys too, so we do recommend that in the app you stay on auto farmer mode, and that's really exactly what it is, automating the next steps and stuff. But you can go manual, so pressing a button here, you can turn the light off. As you can see behind me, the light just turned off. You can also control the fan and things like that. Turn it back on. There you go. So there is some flexibility within the app as well in terms of your control. So again, we never know what types of contingencies may come up. So should you need to turn off the farm for whatever reason,
people use these for activities a lot. And so you end up with these being put in activity rooms or a classroom. And of course, these things can be pretty bright, even though they have tinted glass. But if you want to show a video or watch a movie or something like that, you can turn the lights off or halt the thing for a little while, and then you can watch that movie, watch that video without the farm being a distraction, and it'll come back on when it needs to, or you can turn it right back off again if that's the case. Depending on what's happening, it's not going to hurt the plants to do that.
Yeah, and like Chris said, the farm doors, the default, they already come tinted, but if you want an additional tint, so they're even darker, we do offer that as well. I have a client at a resort who wants these in the dining room area, but they don't want it to be so bright because they have certain ambiance there. So they're adding on an additional layer of tint to the farm, so that kind of fits that vibe. So again, there's a lot of options that we offer.
All right. Well, now we're going to get into our sustainability. I think there's all the questions we have for now. And maybe that's where you're waiting for your questions to be part about sustainability or maybe about horticulture. And so Alex is going to start talking about that. I'm going to step away for just a second and get some things ready for the third part of this webinar. And so Alex, take over and I'll be right back.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you, Chris. Yeah, so let's talk sustainability. I know that's a really big buzzword right now in the world, and people are greenwashing a lot and whatever it may be. But just wanted to borrow this time, especially on Earth Day, to talk to you guys about that. So one thing we do at Babylon that I absolutely love is we offer sustainability report cards. So for all of our partners that have the Gallery Micro Farm, every 6 months, they're going to get a sustainability report card showcasing the impact that they are making to be more sustainable as a business.
Sorry.
Whether you're using this for social purposes on site for employee engagement, or actually have more of a lesser carbon footprint, you can utilize that as a use case. So the three main things that we mentioned on that report card.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the
nitrogen runoff diverted from waterways, which the runoff is a huge issue to our coastal ecosystem. So reduction in food waste, and then also the utilization of water more effectively. So those are the three big metrics. So again, every 6 months, and it'll say year to date as well. So those numbers will only continue to increase the longer you have our platform. But a lot of our corporate partners, university partners, they really love that to be able to speak to what they're doing to be more sustainable from their ESG reporting. So that's something that we are actively always monitoring in the background. There's a lot of data that we collect from the farms themselves to be able to give you that information as well. We are working to add even more data as we meet. So that's something we're really passionate about. For Earth Day, I want to talk about hydroponics in a little bit more detail. So I'm sure everyone in the audience already knows this, but basically hydroponics is growing without soil. So you're growing with nutrient-rich water, as you saw in the retro practice. Actually, it's not modern. It goes all the way back to Hanging Gardens of Babylon, which is where we got our name. But what's really cool is that it's much more efficient in terms of resource use. So instead of conventional agricultural practices, which we also need to feed the world, but where hydroponics is really useful is that you are using as much water as you need, as much fertilizer as you need. You're not doing everything in excess. Additionally, one of my favorite things about it in terms of sustainable food systems is that you have the farms on site. So it's literally a farm at your table. Instead of transporting produce from distant farms to supply grocery stores or whatever it may be, from coast to coast or across the US, that has a massive carbon footprint. So with this, you reduce that carbon impact significantly because it's on site already. So reducing food miles and CO2 is really something that we care about a lot. One more thing to mention too, that I think is really cool about hydroponics is that it actually is able to be a carbon negative farming practice, meaning because of how effective it is at its resource use, efficient, I should say. And then also because of how the plants grow, you actually have some carbon sequestration happening through photosynthesis. And then you also are able to potentially give back to the environment versus only take from it. So that's what the carbon negative farming practice means, is you're utilizing your resources so effectively that you're actually able to make a positive impact on the environment versus taking away from it. So as we continue to see more urban farming practices come about, and we've got a massively large growing population to feed, hydroponics is able to contribute to those goals we have as a global populace in a really incredible way. So as you can see here on the screen, oh, it's not up there. Let me share. Sorry. So I'm going to share that environmental report card I was speaking about. Share. Thank you. So this is what I was mentioning at the beginning. Is this is an example of the report card that you would receive from us on a 6-month basis. So it would have your name at the top, obviously, and then it's going to talk about water saved, nitrogen runoff diverted, and then that food waste eliminated, like I said, too. So again, it's a wonderful piece to include for your ESG reporting, or maybe even investors or community educational opportunities, whatever it may be. And then Chris actually is going to speak a little bit to our certification. So you can see here too, we've got HE Stars, which is a university sustainability certification, and we've got WELL and then LEED certified.
Sure, yeah. We'll pop in there real quick. All right. Well, welcome everybody. So you can use our farms for various types of credentialing. So as Alex was just mentioning here, we're really popular with the HE Stars program that is for universities. It's a part of a comprehensive framework for college universities to measure their sustainability performance. You can integrate your microfarms into your institution. You can earn these credits there. They're in categories such as operations, academics, and engagement. So our farms could fit into various ones depending on what you're already doing on your campus. So they really you have some innovative ways of adding to your sustainability, reducing food miles, promoting local food and local food production. So they really align perfectly with the entirety of their program. The next one I want to talk about is LEED. So LEED is your Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design program. It was developed by the U.S. Green Building Council and is globally recognized symbol of sustainability achievement and leadership. It provides a framework for healthy, high-efficient, cost-saving green buildings. And so with our farms, if you're looking at green wall, you're looking at biophilic design, which a lot of LEED has in it. You can use our farms with that to gain credits. We've seen them used in a couple of different ways with different buildings. I think the latest LEED building we had was the Intuit Dome. So where the what's the team? The basketball team plays out in California. I'm like, why am I'm blanking right now on it. Anyway, so it's the Intuit Dome, brand new facility, and we have a couple of our farms in there. But I think it's like a platinum LEED building, and so they're using it for that. And then the last one I want to talk about is the WELL program. So the WELL building standard, which is administered by the International Well Building Institute, it focuses on advanced health and well-being in buildings globally. And then it more emphasizes in the importance of the spaces and human health and comfort in providing environmental sustainability. So we were the first indoor microfarm we used for WELL. So we became a certified farm with their system, which was really neat. We worked very closely with them in order to achieve that. And while I'm on that, really quickly on certifications, we are UL and FCC and CE approved as well for our electricity. And so those are the three that we fit into. There are probably other certifications out there. There may be, if there's one in particular for you, we can make that work.
Awesome. Do you guys have any questions relating to sustainability, anything like that? I'm happy to answer them. And if not, that is totally okay as well.
One second, folks.
While you guys gather those questions, I will speak to a couple more things in terms of sustainability. Again, we said it's Earth Day. So some of the goals around Earth Day include a call to action to be more sustainable. So how do we inspire and empower people to take action on environmental issues? So at Babylon, our mission is to empower anyone to grow their own fresh, sustainable food, no matter the season or where they're located. And so that kind of is a massive inspiration to us. And when we wanted to design our platform, so is it easy to engage with? And do communities feel empowered when they're able to utilize this for their various goals? So that's something we're really proud to be able to support as well. And then addressing climate change. So Earth Day, of course, recognizes the critical role of climate change, as do we at Babylon Microfarms. So educating the public about this issue and how do we promote solutions? So Babylon, again, is somebody who's wanting to educate the public. That's why we have webinars like we have today, and then helping to promote various solutions and encourage those next steps. So we are really proud to have a solution that, again, is sustainable in terms of food systems and being able to bring communities together in that way to grow their own food. So there's a couple different ways in which Babylon fits into the Earth Day narrative. And so if you have any questions about that, feel free to drop them in the chat. But I think here shortly, we're going to kick it over to Ekene, who's our incredible lead horticulturalist that we've probably mentioned 5 times already. So definitely not hyping her up too much because she is amazing. So it's been an honor to chat with you guys. Thank you. And I will turn it over.
Hey everybody, so my name is Ekene Tharp and I'm so happy to be here with you guys today. I'm sure Alex and Chris have covered tons of extremely useful and helpful information over our farms and the sustainability aspect of our farms. So I'm going to get into the horticulture side, sort of the science behind what we do. So to give a background about me, I got my undergrad in University in Tennessee, Knoxville in horticulture. Went on to do an internship with Syngenta, which is a very large organization. And that's when I started to understand more about controlled environment agriculture. I went on and got my master's degree in horticulture at Virginia Tech, go Hokies. And that was a graduate degree in controlled environment agriculture, but more specifically indoor vertical farming with miniature dwarf tomatoes. And after that concluded, I moved on to Babylon, which I've been with for the past 2 years now, and it's been an incredible experience working with these micro farms. So getting into the ins and outs of what I do here, I am the head grower here, and a large part of my position is research. Because we have farms all over the country, outside of the country, even though we're indoors and we have HVAC systems, those are still varying environments. Water looks different depending on the side of the country you're on. You might have your farm right next to a window, and if you're in Arizona, that might mean your farm gets pretty hot. So we have to do a lot of research on cultivar selection. We're growing up to 45 different varieties in our farms, and so that means that everything has to be happy at the same time. And from a horticulture aspect, that means they're all being fed the same nutrient solution. And I want all these plants to, reach their best potential under that same sort of recipe. And in order to accomplish that, I work a lot with different breeders, different companies to get those best varieties that can all live in harmony with each other. I'm sure Chris and Alex have also covered different types of varieties that we offer, which are microgreens, leafy greens, lettuces, herbs, and flowers. And as you can see behind me, we're working on fruiting crops now. That would be our pepper variety as well as our miniature dwarf tomato variety. We're discovering that it is extremely possible to grow everything at the same time under the same environment. And that has been incredibly rewarding. So to get deeper into the research aspect, some materials that we're looking at on a regular basis would one be nutrient solution. Hydroponics is a little bit different than outdoor farming or, other types of farming in the sense that it's a recirculating system. So it's the same water in our reservoir, which I'm kind of pointing to there, that reservoir. And that holds about 20 to 25 gallons of water, and we're dosing nutrients into that farm. Those nutrients are going to go up via gravity, or I'm sorry, up via pump and then down via gravity. And it just goes on and on. Because we're feeding the crops the same nutrient solution on and on, that is extremely sustainable, which again, I'm sure Alex covered. But we also have to keep in mind that, over time, as plants take up these nutrients, the profile might change, which is why we ask customers to drain every 8 weeks or so. Still, I want to make sure that what we're offering in our nutrient solution is optimal. And we've done tons of research around this to the point where we're getting even better on what those nutrients are, thus increasing our yields or grow times. Speaking to yields and grow times increasing, we're also looking at media. So media would be what your plant is growing in. That could be a plug. In our instances, that's what we use. A plug is just a small little guy that you put seeds in. If you guys haven't already been exposed to this, we send pre-seeded seed packs with our farm. So all these plugs already have their seeds in them with the QR code. They scan into the farm, and then, into the plant, transplant, so on and so forth. With these plugs, they come in all different shapes, sizes, materials, but they're not all created equal. Right now we're using Grow Foam, which is an awesome media for so many different reasons, but that doesn't stop us from looking at other materials and what's out there to increase our yields, increase our grow times, because when you start healthy, you grow up to be extremely healthy. And that's true for people, it's true for plants. So that's one media that we're sort of exploring, the plugs, but we also explore microgreen media, since that's one of the crops we offer. The way that differentiates from plugs is that it's a mat. As opposed to a little guy, it's a big flat media. And we sow seeds all across that mat. Again, they're all microgreen mats, but they're not all created equal. So some mats perform better than others. And one aspect that we really look to for Babylon Microfarm, speaking to sustainability, is compostability. So the horticulture department does tons of research around that as well. Otherwise, we're looking at different varieties on an ongoing basis. Where those fruits got introduced is because we're exploring that. The flower varieties we offer took exploration. Vertical farming is a newer type of farming, and breeders weren't always producing short crops for us, but because we're an industry that has proven that we're here to stay, more and more varieties are becoming available. So horticulture always has research to do and discoveries to make. But as far as other aspects go, we want to make sure that whatever we offer is going to be consistent and perform well. And in a nutshell, that is what we do here in the horticulture department. We're also keeping an eye on these farms, looking at how our nutrients are performing, how the plants are looking in all these farms, and we're always here to give guidance when it's needed. So overall, that's what we do. And in the guided growing app, we're also setting those transplant times, harvest times, and adjusting them as needed as, say, for example, our nutrients change or our media changes. And if you guys have any questions, I would be happy to answer them at this time.
One person asked just what is a microgreen?
That's
What is a microgreen?
That's an awesome question. So a microgreen is a seed that grows up to a sprout, and then it produces its first true leaves. That differentiates from sprouts because sprouts are harvested, say, 5 to 7 days after planting, whereas microgreens are harvested 7 to 10 to 14 days after planting. What's really important is that it has those true leaves, and you're only harvesting above the root material, so stem and up, where sprouts sometimes roots or the whole entire plant can be harvested. We only offer microgreens. We do not work in the sprout production. Microgreens are also extremely nutrient dense, which is really, really cool. For example, red cabbage has 40% more vitamin C than mature cabbage,
Oh yeah.
which is incredible. So,
We actually have some documentation on the health of our plants too. Which we can provide anybody on that
Yeah.
here as well. But,
Yeah.
we've had some of our plants independently tested by Tintimus, which is
Mm,
an independent lab.
yeah.
And we can get that information, but they're kind of off the charts with some things. Like
Yeah.
lutein is off the charts, vitamin A is off the charts, calcium's off the charts. That's for things like lettuce. Like these
Absolutely.
it's wild. We're happy to have that.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's everything. Thank you so much for joining
No
us. We appreciate it.
problem. Thank you guys for having me. It was a pleasure.
We'll have Alex come back over and we'll finish it out. Well, we all want to thank you so much for coming today. And if you have any last minute questions before we end this wonderful Earth Day, I don't know where you're at in this world, but we have gorgeous weather here. It's 85 here in Virginia and beautiful, and it's not raining like they said it was going to rain. So we're really happy about that. If you're interested in any of the products you saw today, if you're interested in learning more about sustainability, about how we give back and for our community, case uses, things like that, you can check out our website. You can contact us, and I'll put up a screen for Alex here at the end, and she will. Once I find it, it's at the very beginning. It's our slides that are going a little slower now than I expected. And actually, I just passed a slide. One of the cool things you can do with our farms, just to plug what I do here, is that you can actually have them custom designed at the bottom, or you can have them fully wrapped. You can have anything you want, so you can kind of white label them for your place. So let me share Alex's information.
Yeah, so like Chris said, if you guys have any follow-up questions or you'd like to book a time to meet with me and learn more about what we talked about today or talk about your operation, I'd love to learn more about what you guys' visions and goals are for your operation, your community, see how Babylon can help support those. So scan the QR code or jot down my email phone number. I'll respond to you as quickly as I can, and I hope to hear from you guys. But again, thank you so much for joining us for this Earth Day webinar. And yeah.
That's it. So yeah, we're gonna log off here. We'll leave the screen up for a little longer so you can write that information down. And thank you so much for joining us, and have a great day.
Thanks, guys.